We're going to go ahead and call to order the December 10th, 2024 regular monthly meeting of the Board of Directors of the South River Water and Sewer Authority. And we'd like to thank everyone coming out on this rainy night, and appreciate you being here. And now we'll go to the roll call.
Commissioner Gooch.
Present.
Commissioner Karen.
Present.
Commissioner Kaczynski.
Present.
Commissioner Way.
Present.
Councilperson Daniels.
Present.
Commissioner McLam.
Present.
All are accounted for. I'm so sorry, Councilperson Cheek.
I'm here. Now all are accounted for.
Yeah, everyone's accounted for. Good. And with that, we'll go to our invocation by Councilperson Vicky Daniels.
Let us pray. We acknowledge your presence with us tonight. We recognize you as our creator of all things. We are gathered here tonight to focus and to be mindful. We ask for your guidance, direction, and infinite wisdom during our business proceedings tonight. We give thanks and glory to you for all those things pleasing unto you. And those things we ask. Amen.
Amen. And now we'll go to our Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair Joanna Kaczynski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And for the adjustments to the agenda, does anyone have anything? I have one. Our executive director has requested a closed session for personnel issues. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to add to the agenda for the meeting tonight? If not, we'll call for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. Do you hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Vote carried.
I'm going to sink, okay?
Well, we have a majority.
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead.
Now, trust you've had time to review the minutes from the November 12th, 2024 meeting. Any comments? Call for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those approve of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Vote carries. And now our public comments section. Now, we have anyone sign up for public comments?
We've not received any public comments.
Okay, we did not. Okay. And we had one board discussion item. I think that was by Vice Chair Kaczynski. You want to talk about the lead and copper program.
Thank you so much. I had a phone call from a neighbor the day before Thanksgiving who was concerned about some comments she read on social media regarding lead in the water in Creedmoor. So I know that the letters did not say there was lead in the water in Creedmoor. I calmed her down. I gave her as much as I could. But Scott, would you please go over this lead and copper one more time for everybody?
Yes, well, thank you. And thank you for that opportunity. So I thought what we could do this evening is I have Chris Sutherland in our audience this evening, Assistant Director. I'd like to have him come up to the podium. Chris has been taking the lead on this project for us. And as he's getting started, I would just like to mention to the board, just to remind you that we had a really good presentation a couple months ago on this topic. And we have some slides. I think we may pull up a couple of slides from that presentation, but Chris is going to go over, kind of walk us through some items for that. And we'll be happy to entertain any questions that the board members have. So Chris.
Sure. Crystal, do you mind pulling up that presentation that Hazen did for us? So to give you a little background on this, so Seguasa sent out letters to residents. And of course, the first question is, well, I didn't get a letter, or I did get a letter. Why is the case? So the reason is, so we are mandated from the EPA to provide letters to anyone in our service area who has an unknown service material type. So, Crystal, if you'll go to, I think it's about the 4th page of that. It's the picture where it shows that one right there. So if you look at this picture right in front of you, you see where it says water meter. That from the water meter back towards the main line that's under the street there, everything that's there is managed by us. Past that point is what is the customer's responsibility. And those letters that were sent out directly reflect what is on the right side of that water meter, the customer's responsibility. And so the people who got the letters have an unknown material type. So again, we are mandated annually to send out a letter to all those residents who have material type that is unknown. So if you're a resident and you receive this letter, we would ask that you would read through the letter. And what the letter does is it kind of gives you a little bit of background information on it. There's 3 different pages to the letter. The first page was kind of Seguasa's, explaining exactly what it was and giving residents the opportunity to be able to go onto a website that we have and to self-report what their material type is. Is it mandated? No, it's not mandated. It is highly encouraged that the residents do this for multiple reasons. One, the resident can know what the material type is that they have. 2, there is a potential cost savings to us as an organization passed on to ratepayers for this, because essentially what's going to happen is within the next, we'll say 10 years, within 10 years of the lead and copper revision, we have to know what the material type is for all the services within our system, on the private side as well as the public side. So if residents would like to go on or go under their house and help us determine what the material type is, then that is a potential cost savings to us as an organization, as well as to the ratepayers. Because let's say right now, roughly, it's going to cost about $600 for us as an organization to figure out what that material type is on the customer side. So anything they can do would be helpful for us.
So to determine the type of material that it is,
yes, ma'am.
Something. But is Seguasa going to make the change and pay for all the changes that need to be made if somebody does have lead and copper under their home?
So the way that this is stated, if I understand this correctly, is that we as an organization have to make an effort within the next 10 years to replace all lead service lines on the public side, not on the private side. Now, we have to know what the private side is. So to answer your question, no, we do not have to replace what's on the private side. There's potentially some funding available to take care of both sides. If their side were to be lead, if our side were to be lead. But the way I understand this is in order for the funding to take place, the customer would have to say, yes, you can replace my service line on my side of the meter. That's the only way that funding takes place, is the way I understand that.
And these pictures that Crystal showed, they're on the Sigwasson website.
So this specific picture is part of the presentation that was done by Hazen. Yes, this is on the website. It's under it's a QA.
Yes, Sigwassa.org/QA, but it's also on our lead and copper page. They can access all of our files.
So this presentation is on there. We do have a video on there. But again, to get back to the letter that we sent out. So the letter, can you pull up a copy of that letter? So the letter has hyperlinks and QR codes. So customers are encouraged to follow either one, or they can go to our website. And on our website, we have a direct hyperlink to this information. So Crystal, do you mind clicking on this for us? So what this does is it pulls up a map, okay? And so if I'm a resident at, we'll say, this address, 415 Central Avenue, okay? If you have an unknown service material type, it will tell you. And so if you'll click continue, Crystal, and we can just go to one of the unknowns here, if you don't mind. Zoom into something that's not double blue color. Yeah. So if you'll do that, you see where it says complete the survey now. So as a resident, you would find your address, you would click this, and it says complete the survey now. So you go through this, and it asks you a bunch of different questions. So there's the picture right there that we were referring to. All right. It asks you some general questions. Are you the property manager, the owner? So you can go through this, Crystal. We don't have to submit it. But if you don't mind, if you'll click owner, okay, it'll ask you several questions. So when was your property constructed? Let's just say prior to 81. Okay. And then this is when it starts asking you about the material type that you have for your water line. Have you had it replaced? Just say unknown. Okay, and this gets into more specifics about how to determine what your specific service line is made out of. So if you'll go down, keep going down through this, can you locate your service line? Okay, what we're asking is if you have a crawl space that you can get under, you can go under your house and take pictures of this. All right, so let's say, can you locate the water line? Yes. All right, so this right here is a visual representation of how to tell exactly what material type that your water line is made out of. All right. So it continues to ask us a multitude of different questions. But the gist of this is very helpful for us as an organization to determine what the service line material type is on your side of the meter. That way we can know. And as soon as we know that it is not lead, we're not obligated to send you. We don't have to send you the letter anymore because we know what the material type is.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes,
The only other question I have is when we do our monthly tests on our water, we test for lead and copper, don't we? Or lead at least, do we?
You want to answer that?
I'd like you to answer that.
Okay, sure. Be happy to. So we are required within a certain time frame. It is on a monthly basis, but there is a scheduled basis where we have to actually perform those evaluations, and we send samples out to residents. And basically, the residents collect that water for us, and then that sample is sent to the lab for analysis, and we keep track of that. So we're required to do that on I don't want to quote the basis as far as the schedule for that, but I know it's not on a monthly basis that we do that. So we have some points on it that we monitor and report back to. So that answer your question?
Is lead one of them?
In terms of,
do we test the water for lead content?
We actually have a test for that we do perform that. That is correct.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that Chris did mention is that maybe the question by our general public is, how did you get to the select set of only sending letters to this group? And I would like to add to that we went through, and if you remember from our previous meetings or presentation by Hazen and Sawyer, we did a records research, and we looked at plumbing codes and record drawings in our GIS, and we had some timestamps out there, and I think it was 1988.
I think 87. There was a lead ban in 1987. So if your house falls previous to 1987, then you fall in the potential unknown category. And if we had ASBIL records that showed other information, for subdivisions or whatnot, then some of it might actually say what your material type is.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Does that answer any of your questions?
I think
Yes,
that
ma'am.
was part of the problem because some people didn't get the letter because they were in houses that were built, obviously.
After 19.
Well, yeah, and the intent of it was not to send everybody a letter. The
Right.
intent was to only send the
And on social
unknowns.
media.
Yes.
Yes, people didn't read the letter.
And this
People
is
didn't
a
get the letter were scared because they didn't get the letter.
Right.
They didn't understand because people who were posting on social media didn't read the letter.
right, and this is a federal mandate that we send out this letter, and that all the surrounding municipalities, all of the water providers in the area are supposed to send out this same letter.
My question was about funding to help the residents. There's funding to replace
Mm-hmm.
the lead pipe. Do you know more about that?
No, ma'am. At this time, I don't. In previous talks, I know that there's grant opportunities that can be had for things like that. You would have to apply for the grant. But again, some of them are specifically, in order to get funding for the customer side, you would have to replace the public side, and they would have to say that they wanted their stuff replaced as well, but it would have to be lead or galvanized downstream of lead.
Okay, that has to take place before they can get reimbursement.
Essentially, it wouldn't be a reimbursement for that. If that you're talking that specific thing, then SIGWASA would get that money, and we would fund that through that grant that program.
Okay. So Oscar would get the grant money.
Correct. To my knowledge, and I'm not the specialist on this, but to my knowledge, there are not currently any programs that pay for replacement of service line materials on the customer side, but I'm sure that's something that we will continue to explore.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments?
The only other, I have one comment. I did have someone call me as well. Her frustration was our phone system, which I have to agree with her on that. When she called in, you don't know who you want to talk to. You can't dial it. There's no O to hit customer service. If you hit O, you go right back to the loop again. And she was frustrated that she didn't know how to get hold of the person.
Okay. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Crystal, do you have a copy of that letter still pulled up?
Yes.
Just want to verify this, but if you go to page 2 of that letter, I believe that there is contact information there on the letter. It's specifically to our project manager, Joel Coates. There's the phone number to him. I'm not sure if that's a direct phone number, if they have to dial it.
That's our general phone number, so it comes into our customer
You
service
have to
front
go in and
office.
start typing the name and get him to come up. That's how it is on your phone system. You have to know who you want to call. There's no customer service.
The information was included in the letter.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I see it was in there, but sometimes for seniors going in and typing on the phone, I'm just trying to be sympathetic to people that, first of all, don't read and don't want to read everything. They just get panicked. But I have to agree that that phone system is not really user friendly, just from an outsider. If I didn't know Mary was 3, her extension, I have it in my phone. To get customer service.
That's good. All right. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions?
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Chris.
Anything further? All right. Our next agenda item is the I-85 Sanitary Sewer System Improvement Project, construction project number 1. The water construction contract, the Herm Construction Company Incorporated. And this is a much anticipated item that we've been working towards for many years. Mr. Troy, would you like to handle this?
I sure will. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Before I get started, I would just like to mention that Michael Sloop, professional engineer and project manager with CDM Smith, is here in our audience this evening to assist with any answers to questions the board members may have about this item. Now, Michael does not have a formal presentation, but I want you to know that Michael's been part of this project since we started this project 2 years ago, and he will continue to be a part of this project. as planned for the next couple of years as we get into construction. So I appreciate Michael being here this evening. So as the board chair said, this is the sanitary sewer improvement project, construction project number 1, award of construction contract to Heron Construction Company Incorporated. So as the board and the public know, that once completed, the I-85 sewer improvement project will solve the current sewer capacity issues affecting the Saguasa service areas that include Granville County, the town of Butner, and the city of Creedmoor. As the board members will also recall, the project is being constructed in 2 phases, the construction package 1 and construction package 2, and this is shown on your map exhibit A. The project is divided into these 2 phases to align with the project funding sources that we have for this project. The engineer's cost estimate for the entire project, including all bid alternates, is $82 million. Saguasa and CDM Smith will scrutinize bid alternates for both CP1 and CP2 to keep the project in line with a total funding cost of approximately $72 million. With the final engineering design and specifications completed by CDM Smith in the summer of 2024, CDM Smith developed the public bid package for CP number 1 and advertised it publicly. Turning to the analysis section on the agenda item, on Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, 1 bid was received for the I-5 sanitary sewer improvement project CP number 1. Due to only receiving 1 bid item, the project was re-advertised for several weeks. Following the re-advertisement, Saguasa received 2 bids for the project. These bids are shown below in Table 1. And our bidders were Heron Construction Company out of Tennessee and English Construction Company out of Lynchburg, Virginia. There's some notes below the table regarding some of the items that we went through in terms of the addenda that were noticed in the re-advertisement, as well as some mathematical clerical errors. However, none of that affected the bid in terms of the recommendation of the award. Moving to the bid documents, the bid documents identified 3 alternate bid items. The total amount of the 3 bid alternates are shown below in Table 2. So you'll see that table on your screen. So you can see Heron Construction had bid alternates amounts of $4.2 million, and English Construction had $6.2 million of bid alternates for the project. I've provided for the board a summary of the base bid amount and the bid alternates, and that's shown in Table 3. And working from the left side of the table to the right side in the columns, you'll actually see the contractor's name, the total base bid amount for the project, the total bid alternates for the project, and then a total base bid plus bid alternates for the amount. I've also provided for you a difference column to show you the difference between Heron Construction and English Construction. Based on the information above, CDM Smith recommends that Saguasa award a construction contract to include the base and alternate bid in the amount of $34,832,000 to Heron Construction Incorporated for the reference project. The recommendation from CDM Smith is shown in Exhibit C. In terms of the financials with this project, associated with this project, the project contract CP number 1 and CP number 2 will be funded from the following sources: Saguasa, ARPA, and the USDA. The total funding currently available from these sources is $72 million. A budget amendment will be prepared and presented at a future board of directors meeting related to the construction contract with Heron Construction Incorporated. In turning to the next steps on the page, should the board members approve the contract with Heron Construction Incorporated, then Saguasa and CDM Smith will complete the required steps with both the North Carolina Department of Drinking Water Infrastructure and the United States Department of Agriculture. Furthermore, CDM Smith will initiate and complete the following items, and those are shown on the bottom of page 19 and also at the top of the page at page 20. In terms of the attachments, we have several exhibits for you, including the I-85 sanitary sewer improvement project map on page 21. You have a certified bid tab, the CDM Smith recommendation award on pages 28 and 29, and a resolution for tentative award required by the NCDUP on page 30. You can see our strategic plan alignment on page 20 as well. And my recommendation is the Board of Directors, 1, approve a contract with Heron Construction Company Incorporated for the I-85 sanitary sewer project construction package number 1 in the amount of $34,832,000, and authorize the Executive Director, the Finance Director, and the Attorney to execute the contract And 2, approve the resolution of tentative award as shown in Exhibit D. Now, again, Exhibit D is the resolution of tentative award required by the NCDEQ. A lot of information for the board. The board is aware of the project and the project map. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and anything that I can't answer or need support on, I'll be happy to call on Michael Sloop, our project manager. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. On the company that analyzes for the contracts, there's 2 companies that came in. Is the timeline, the expected completion of this, was it same for both construction companies? That it's going to take them the amount of time it takes to complete the phase 1. What's the time that's going to take?
Sure.
Is that in the contract?
I had a little bit of trouble hearing your question, but were they aware of the timelines?
Well, I'm wondering what the timeline is for completion of phase 1, and if both companies had the same timeline that they could complete it in that amount of time.
Sure. Michael, would you like to come up and address that, please? I think that you have the schedule memorized by now, correct? Or nearly?
I think I have everything memorized. Yeah, no, good question. So we dictate what the schedule is in the construction contract, and we specify that as in a days, which essentially amounts to 3 years. And both contractors acknowledged the schedule and didn't have any issues with that.
And they're both using the same type of materials. I just wonder why there's such a discrepancy in cost. When you see contracts, wide differences.
There could be differences in materials. There could be differences in who their subcontractors are.
Gotcha.
There could be differences in who their specific labor employees are and what they pay them, how the timing relates to other projects. Yeah, there's a number of items that can play into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate that.
And what was your question, Rob?
And going with this construction company, what projects have they worked on? Anything to this scale? And when you take them to look at to see the work that's done.
Yeah, good question. So we reached out to, I believe it was 6 different references. They actually identified every project that they've done. And we reached out to 6 references in North Carolina, and the feedback that we got was very positive, and all the projects were similar to what we're going to be doing here, which is pump stations and pipelines. That's where their focus is on, primarily on the pump station side. They are subcontracting out the pipeline work on this job, and that's going to a company called Wilkerson Construction, which, yeah, they've done work in this area, so they're very familiar with working in Butner. This is going to be one of the largest projects that they've worked on. The fact that a large portion of it is the pipeline and it's being subcontracted to Wilkerson really breaks down the amount of work that they're actually going to be self-performing into a value that would be similar for what they've done on other projects.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So you've done the research, and your recommendation is that we go with this company. And you said they gave us 6 references for 6 jobs they've done.
In North Carolina.
Oh, I was going to say, so they've all done 6 jobs.
I'm sorry, I didn't say that well. So they've done many jobs, and they listed out every job they've done. We selectively chose 6 projects with 6 different owners to reach out to and get feedback on their performance.
Okay.
And they're currently working in this region. They're in Roxborough, and they're working on Falls Lake for water intake as well. So they know us. For the region, at least.
Any further questions?
I'd like to make a motion whenever you're
Ready?
I make the motion that we approve the contract with Heron Construction Company for the Guided by Sanitary Sewer Project Construction Package 1 in the not to exceed amount of $32,000. Sorry. And authorize the Executive Director, Finance Director, and Attorney to execute the contract and approve the resolution of tentative award as shown in Exhibit D.
That's 34 million.
34 million, sorry. 34,832,000.
Have you got your motion amended?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. So here's a second.
That was wishful thinking. That was 30,000.
We have a second. Yeah. Is there any questions on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. On to item number 10, which is our 85 sewer system improvement project easement acquisition final cost summary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. I'll be happy to discuss this with you as well. So, as discussed previously with the board of directors, the initial number of easements required for this project was estimated at 200 plus. So, easements are required for our construction for this project, both pipes and pump stations. And this is encompassing both CP number 1 and CP 2. The total number of easements required for construction was reduced from 200 to less than 80 easements. This great reduction in total utility easements was due primarily to NCDOT not requiring specific utility easements throughout the many roadways that the utility parallels or crosses. Additionally, new easements were not required as Seguasa's easement acquisition team was able to document existing utility easements throughout the service area. CDM Smith and Seguasa's contracted engineer were able to place much of the new infrastructure within the existing easements. Seguasa's board of directors authorized myself and our attorney, Jim Wren, and his firm to negotiate and acquire all needed properties and easements for this project. To achieve this, the board of directors approved a budget of $1.4 million. Between the months of February 2024 and December 2024, Smith Law's easement acquisition team acquired all the easements necessary for the project. As I mentioned above, the number of easements, including temporary construction easements and properties, totaled 67. The total expense for acquiring all of the easements and properties included the professional staff time, the cost of purchasing the easements and properties, the associated excise tax, the associated plat recording costs, and the deed recording cost. Total authorized budget for this project is $1.4 million. The total final expense for this project amounts to $1,461,382.87. To date, Seguasa has paid property owners less than the authorized amount of $1.4 million, leaving a balance of $61,382.87. Staff is requesting a budget amendment this evening in BA 9 for this balance. If authorized, Seguasa staff will move forward with acquiring the outstanding unpaid easements. Securing 100% of the easements for the I-85 sanitary sewer improvement project allows Seguasa to meet the property easement acquisition requirements of the United States Department of Agriculture. In summary, the USDA will not authorize the USDA-funded portion, CP number 2, of the project to be advertised for construction until all easements are secured. So that was one of their requirements. That was not a requirement for CP number 1, in case you're thinking of that. DEQ allowed us to go out with the project as long as we were moving along this timeline to secure all of these easements. So, in addition to the previous item being monumental, this is a monumental project as well at this point to acquire all of these easements. So, staff is recommending the board approve the associated budget amendment for this item. In terms of the financials, seen on the top of page 32, in our June 11th, 2024 board meeting, the board approving appropriation of designated CIP fund balance in the amount of $1.4 million to purchase the easements related to the project. The final accounting for negotiated easements again reflects a cost of $1,461,383. This final amount results in an additional budgetary need of $61,383 to finalize the easement acquisitions. These costs are Seguasa funded and will not be reimbursed by the American Rescue Plan Act or ARPA grant. As far as a recommendation, I'm looking for the board to review and approve budget amendment number 9, which will follow in tonight's agenda. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board members may have about this project. I will just say again, it was very extensive, and I greatly appreciate Jim's help and his team at Smith Law and all of his partners and the consultants that help us get to this point. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Scott, if originally it was going to be 200 pieces of land and we got it down to 67, how did we overrun $1.4 million?
How did we overrun? We didn't. How did it cost us more than $1.4 million?
We set aside $1.4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, it was going to be 200 pieces of property that were acquisition possible. We got that down to 67 pieces. How did we overrun 1.4 million? So drop that from 200 to 67.
Well, that was the cost of the acquisition for the property and the easements for this project.
I don't think the budget was ever set based on any kind of appraisal estimate, anything at that point for 200 easements.
It was our best estimate at the time going into the project, and that's how it was presented to the board.
That was my question.
And we wouldn't know until we got to this point along the way.
And these values were all done off of appraisals. We had to have an appraisal under the Uniform Relocation Assistance Act. We had to have an appraisal and a review appraisal. So you had basically two appraisers looking at it to establish a value. It wasn't just a swag at it by that point.
So are you saying that there's legal fees included in this 1.461?
No, I'm saying this is just the actual purchase of the dirt plus the recording costs for this project.
Correct.
So the appraisal fee is not included in this amount either.
That's a separate budget, right? This is the purchase of the dirt that we had to acquire for the easement.
The board approved a contract amount appropriation of $925,000 for all the legal services associated with this project.
That included the appraisal and the land agent and all of that.
Yeah, I remember that. The land agent and such. Yeah. Okay. Any further questions? Well, do I hear a motion from the board? Let's go through. We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second? We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion. We'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And now we get down to fiscal year 24-25 budget amendment number 8. And hey, Ruben, how you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. Ruben Carding, Assistant Finance Director for Sequoia. Tonight, there will be 2 budget amendments presented with a separate motion for each. Budget amendment number 8 for fiscal year 24-25 appropriates additional budget for software license costs and generator maintenance and reallocates existing budget within the wastewater treatment department for varied items. This amendment appropriates budget for engineering consulting services that will be prepaid or reimbursed to Sequoia customers and or developers. The associated revenues are undetermined currently since the costs are based on ad hoc projects. Thus, the corresponding revenue budget is not being increased currently. This amendment records ARPA grant revenue for the CDN Smith construction, admin, and construction observation contract approved by the board at the regular meeting on August 13th, 2024. The expense related to the KCO contract was previously captured in Amendment Number 5 approved by the board at the regular meeting on September 10th, 2024. The table below shows the previous budget amendments effects on fund balance. And below that is budget amendment number 8 detailed. For revenues, we're increasing other financing sources, which is the ARPA grant, by $5,696,000. And on the expenditure side, we are increasing engineering, $80,000, raw water, $300, water treatment plant, $1,100, utilities meter reading, $1,000, and we are putting back into fund balance $5,613,600. And the total of this amendment is $5,696,000. And on the following page where you see the BA number 8 supporting documentation, I'll run through these real quick just to detail what each number entails. As I mentioned, the $5,696,000 is the ARPA grant. Below that, in engineering, we are increasing professional services by $80,000. For the raw water department, we're increasing service and maintenance contracts by $300,000 to allocate budget for generator maintenance at the reservoir. Under the water treatment plant, we're increasing software and IT by $1,100, and this is to allocate budget for additional software licenses. In the utilities meter reading department, we are increasing software and IT by $1,000, and this is to allocate budget for the Mueller annual reading software renewal. And under the wastewater treatment department, we're increasing postage and freight by $400. And this is to reallocate budget for freight related to equipment shipped for repairs. And we are adjusting supplies and materials and capital outlay to reallocate budgets related to the lab equipment purchase. And at the table below, we see after this budget amendment, the total allocated fund balance is $5,568,717. And at this point, we look for any questions, and if there are no questions, we look for a motion to approve budget amendment number 8.
Does anyone have any questions for Ruben?
The software and IT expense under meter reading, is that for the new meters that we're getting?
No, that is for the current meters that we currently have.
Updating the licenses?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? If there's no questions, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve budget amendment number 9.
Okay.
Budget amendment number 8.
Okay, we have a motion to approve budget amendment number 8. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? No discussion. We'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And now fiscal year 2024-25 budget amendment number 9.
All right.
Approve that. Didn't we just approve that?
No,
We approved it. We approved 9 beforehand. Right. When the executive director was presenting the costs for the acquisitions for the land. Yes.
So that's 9 has already been approved.
Yes, in item 10 this evening, the recommendation was the Seguasa Board of Directors approve budget amendment 9, which you made a motion to do that. Ruben would be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the 61,000. I think that we've covered that at this point.
So I got behind.
It's okay. We just put the card in front.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us down to the comments from our. Thank you, Ruben. Appreciate it. Sorry about that. Comments from our executive director.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. First of all, thank you very much for your attention to tonight's important topics and helping us to move further on our I-85 sanitary sewer improvement project. I'd also like to thank Michael Sloop, our project manager from CDM Smith, for being here this evening. Thank you, Michael, for being here to answer the questions by the board. But also, I'd like to thank my team members this evening for their presentations. Chris Summerlin, Vivian Pardon, and Crystal for supporting us as well as our PIO. Lastly, I'd like to thank the utility team members who responded to water main break emergencies earlier this month and also through late November. So they were out there for several nights and several days in cold weather responding to water main breaks. And I think they did a fantastic job getting the mains repaired and minimal service disruptions during that time period. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Comments from our attorney.
No comments unless someone has questions.
Okay. No comments. And comments from our board members. Councilperson Judy Chick.
No, I just appreciate how quickly everything did get prepared. You guys had a lot of work on your plate with all these breaks and everything. So
Thank you.
Councilperson Vicky Daniels.
I don't really have any comments, but I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you in January.
Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Robert Way.
Just shouting out appreciation to all our staff members, especially our field staff. And the weather's been cold. Unfortunately, we got rain the next couple of days, and the temperature's going to drop again. We got some severe weather coming through. So, unfortunately, with that being said, I'm sure our staff will have to be out there in the field again soon, rather than later. And like I said, I appreciate it. And I know tomorrow the organization is going to give them an appreciation luncheon. And I hope that everybody comes out and enjoys, staff-wise, the second too. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody here.
Thank you. Commissioner Sinclair.
I'm sure the rest of the board has voluntarily signed up for the text messages about all the problems that occur during our normal routine maintenance or emergency repair, I guess I should say. And it's telling. It's like a fire whistle in Creedmoor. There's a lot going on, and it's last night I was like, "What was actually at 9 o'clock at night?" And then I realized, well, that there was a problem in STEM, and by 11 o'clock, I think it had been resolved. And it's good to get those updates. And I know that as a member of this board, I'm appreciative of the fact that we are in the know of what's going on, and it's kind of nice. So do appreciate our staff that are out in the cold and the wet. And of course, water and sewer, it's always wet. And, so it's good that they'll pop pictures on there to see, like, you're just 8 feet down, fixed. We've got a good team, and I'm appreciative of that. So, do want to say we had, Commissioner Gleason from Creedmoor here in the audience, and he has addressed this board before about our ability to address the public. And we had, Citizen and more of DAPA come a month or so ago and talk about how social media folks just without any regard for truth put things out, and people who should know better, and people who were former elected officials who continue to encourage you and spin this is just what follows me. But just want to say again, going with Vicky Daniels, Councilperson Daniels said, this is a fantastic season we're in, and hope everyone remembers the reason for the season. I hope you all have a great Christmas as we celebrate the season of our Lord and Savior. Thank you.
Commissioner Kenneth McLean.
It's hard to follow up on that, but Merry Christmas to everybody. That's it.
Thank you. And Vice Chair, Commissioner Georgiana Kaczynski.
Well, as Kenneth said, it's hard to follow up, but I totally agree 100% with Commissioner Karen, and I appreciate his comments. The utility crews worked all weekend long this past weekend, and usually happens that pipes burst in Butner in the wintertime and pipes burst in Creedmoor in the summertime. So they've got the worst of the temperatures for these disasters. But the fact that we do have a crew, and I'm sure Chris was out there with them too. Chris, I'm sorry. But that they will be there, they will do their job. They always do. They do the best they can and try to get us restored back to whole as quickly as possible. It is not going unnoticed. I will not be able to attend the luncheon tomorrow for the employees, and I'm upset about that because I'd like the opportunity to thank them personally. But I hope that Scott, you and Chris will extend my gratitude. Our finance director, our HR director, and all our utility crew for all the work that they do. And I hope to God that they do not read some of the comments that people make out there about what goes on. They do a fantastic job in some very horrible conditions.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And like you said, hard to follow. But I'm most appreciative of our executive director, Scott Troya, and the team he has assembled. It's taken him several years, but he has assembled a great team that looks after Sequoia, and especially your team in the field, the guys that go out in the middle of the night. Doesn't matter if it's below freezing or if it's above 100. They go out and they do what needs to be done, and we're most appreciative of them and what they do. And just like to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. If you celebrate something other than Christmas, Happy Holidays to you. And we will be back here in January. With that, we're entertaining a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters. And once we get through with that, we will come back out and adjourn unless we have some further business to it. So we have a motion and a second. And with that, we're going to take about a 5-minute break and we'll reconvene in closed session. Oh, thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed, nay. We ayes have it. Motion carries. We will reconvene in 5 minutes. We're back in open session. Is there any further business to come before the board tonight?
I just have a question.
Okay.
For the executive director, when are we going to get the report on the Ano-Rod study that's been done?
My goal was to have it to you this week. I'm not sure if I'll still be able to get that to you or not. Chris and I took a look at the draft report within the last 2 weeks, and we weren't happy with the report the way it was written. The outline, it just did not include an executive summary that we had requested as another thing. So we've asked them to return that report back to us. My goal is if I can get a final draft to push that out to all the board members so that you have an opportunity to review that. And then when I push it out to you, the question will be, would the board like a presentation or a follow-up by the consultant at a future meeting? So that's my goal, is to get that into your hands here quickly for you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other business? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a motion to adjourn. Do you hear a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying bye. Bye. All those opposed, they stay. Byes have it. We're adjourned. Thank you all.